Beginning of my video. Boom!
Welcome back to Boring Reviews.
Boring land.
Oh, just
on.
kidding.
Blasphemer!
Hello,
right.
Boring Review Nation!
Kind of pointless.
We know all things. It was over in a snap.
We really want it. Alright, we'll be nice.
Only you can be a Patreon.
Oh my gosh!
That's crazy.
You don't need to follow the show to be hyped.
Hello, Boring Review Nation. Gabe.
Nick.
And we're here today to bring you a review I'm super excited about. MS Dhoni. All right. Now, full disclosure, I totally butchered the name when we were coming on to record it. I don't know. What did I say? Dijoni or whatever? Dijon?
Like DS, something like that.
And Nick had to correct me. He's like, dude, what are you doing? Come on. I was like, come on, I shoot from the hip. But
my exact quote was, "They're gonna eat us alive for that one."
or eat me alive. Like, this guy's a national treasure. And you know what? After watching the movie, you understand why he's a national treasure, man. But dude, I love sports movies. They're some of my favorites. I know Rocky, in our conversations, Rocky's one of your favorites. We differ on baseball movies, but we both, again.
Which ones do we differ on? Which baseball movies?
You like Field of Dreams, right? You mentioned Field
I
of
love
Dreams.
it. Yes, it's glorious.
I didn't have it in my top three. My top three were dude, Major League is my favorite. Then Bull Durham and Sandlot. You know what I mean? I love the Sandlot, dude. That's like the first kid movie. You know what I mean? I watch it with my kids still every year. I love it.
Well, first of all, almost every baseball movie I've seen is awesome. There's only one that I did not like, and I've mentioned it a few times on the channel, Mr. 3000. That movie is not salvageable. It's just a bad movie. It's a waste. It's a waste of a talent of Bernie Mac. But every sports movie for the most part, I absolutely love. And this one, MS Dhoni, is no different. I know both of us were super excited to check it out once we did the trailer reaction. I think it was maybe only our second or third cricket video we ever did. And obviously our first cricket-related movie. And I remember thinking, like, this guy, he's a rock star. MS Dhoni was, I believe, the first Cricket Tuesday video we did that was not like learning how to play cricket. And that thing's still got like 77,000 views, one of our top videos. And so in the back of my mind, I always got excited for this. Once we got Hotstar, then lo and behold, it's on there. So we both check it out separately. We're going to tell you our spoiler-esque thoughts. And it's not really spoilers because, it's based on his life. I have no idea how much of the things that happen in the movie actually happen in real life, how much it was made up. But we're going to jump right into it. I don't think we can do a play-by-play on this one just because it's a longer movie, but it covers quite a bit of areas. So let me just start off with when I grade a sports movie, whether the audience likes it or not, it already gets automatically a few notches up because it's a sports movie. And if it's based on a true story, it goes up a few notches already. It would have to be really bad. The interesting thing is that this is directed by Neeraj Pandey, who did Baby, which we reviewed not too long ago. And so it's interesting to go to like an action film to a film based on real life. I can only imagine he's probably a huge fan. But MS Dhoni, this movie, the great thing about it is this movie starts off at the beginning. And my biggest complaint with biopics and with sports movies based on real stories, especially when it's on a figure, is they skip past the beginning stuff and they skip past the stuff when they're on top of the world. They just focus on the drugs and they focus on the negativity and they focus on the struggle and the conflict. And there's too much of that. And it drives me crazy. One most recently was Bohemian Rhapsody. Now, I love that movie. The performances are great. The music's great. Yeah. But we don't get enough to see Queen in their heyday in the film. There's a few scenes where they show us how they write songs, and that was cool. But I never get enough in the moment stuff. And MS Dhoni, it gives you a nice, consistent balance. That's what I'm trying to say. A balanced plate of a movie where we have a good amount of time when he's a young kid, when he's middle-aged, when he's a young player, and then when he's a player, he's on top of the world as the captain of cricket. And that's probably my most favorite thing about this movie. Overall, this movie is not the best sports movie I've seen. It had nothing to do with me not knowing a lot about cricket. This movie is not the best sports movie just because you can't say there was a fantastic acting performance all throughout. There was good enough acting, and the guy who plays MS Dhoni, his name is Sushant Singh Rajput. I had nothing wrong with his performance. It just didn't blow me away.
Right.
And most of this film didn't really blow me away, but I was very much entertained.
Right. Well, I think that, and I understand what you're saying. Let's compare it to other sports movies just from the Indian genre that we've seen thus far. Okay, Lagan, Amir Khan, amazing performance, right? Okay, Dungo, again, Amir Khan, amazing performance. I mean, the guy, again, I still goosebumps just thinking about it when the national anthem plays and he's locked in his room, but he knows his daughters, you know what I mean? Like that just, dude, it brought a tear to my eyes. It did. So when you have those kind of acting performances in sports movies, it really takes it to the next level, where I agree, this movie did lack that. But what I did like about this movie was that it really focused on the everyday nuances of being an athlete. It really showed how, first and foremost, speaking from somebody who's been there, and I was at an amateur level, but again, Savannah's family, I've told you many times, is soccer royalty, okay? Her younger cousin still plays for the LA Galaxy too. But I remember so many Christmases and holidays going over to their family's house in California, and where's he? He's out of town. He's with the U16 team. He's with the U15 team. I mean, this kid, since he was in 14, 15 years old, has been traveling with this U.S. national team, the men's U.S. 16 team, soccer, I should say. So you miss out on a lot of things. You're not there all the time, and it puts a lot of strain on the family as a whole. You know what I'm saying? And again, life doesn't stop happening because you're an athlete. I've said many times on this channel, I've met tons of athletes because of my job as a limo driver. They're people, okay? One of the best parts about this movie was the fact that you saw him experience things that happened through no fault of his own, but just his fiance. And I know I'm way ahead of myself, but what happened with his fiance, that's real life, guys. They're people just like you and I, okay? They're just people that are really, 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 really talented and worked really hard and got lucky to get to that position, which I don't think he got lucky, because that's another thing I like. Many movies don't show this. They just show, if you're the best athlete, you get to be on there. Not true. Not true at all, okay? Michael Jordan, the story's been told, got cut twice from his high school team and in college. The kid that was better than Michael Jordan, that always took his position, that beat him, did not make it to the NBA. He didn't have the support structure. He made some bad choices, whatever. But the point is, just the best athlete doesn't always get there. You have to be lucky or have the connections, and you saw a lot of that here in this film, which is what I really, really loved.
Yeah, that I agree with you 100%. I mean, you hit the nail on the head right there. I'm tempted to talk about what happened to his first, serious girlfriend, because I'm starting off with a lot of negatives here. I actually really did enjoy this movie a lot. When I finished watching it, I kept thinking about it. It stayed with me. It stuck with me for not just one day, but several days. And I liked learning about it. But the whole thing with the girlfriend, that was really confusing to me. That was really poorly executed, because I'm watching it and I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, she's probably dead. But they never revisit it. They never show a funeral scene. They never even talk about it. It just, time goes on. He hears about it and he starts to break down, and he has his moment, which I thought was nice and that was powerful. But I felt, as an audience member, not knowing the history, I felt like, okay, there's a chance that she's in a hospital somewhere and she's still surviving somewhere. Maybe I missed a line where they said, oh yeah, she's definitely dead. Right. But for me, it totally missed. And it was just so weird. And it was weird how she kept saying, you never know how long. Are we going to be together for a long time? Is this for forever? Or whatever she kept saying. And I'm like, okay, they're obviously setting up that she's not going to survive. I thought the whole storyline, the actress did a fine job. She was absolutely, very attractive, but it made no sense to me. That was the weirdest part of the entire thing. I liked the second love interest a whole lot more. I'm pretty sure she's the same actress that played a character named Pretty in Kabir Singh. I liked everything about her character. She was way more fleshed out. She was way more humanized. She had similar issues that the first girlfriend had with MS Dhoni, not being willing to commit, not being willing to say yes. But again, with the whole love thing, I don't feel like, at least me, again, maybe I'm dumb, maybe you can answer this question. I don't feel like I understood why he had such an issue with commitment. He had a solid family life at home. He had a great dad and a great mom and a great sister. I don't know where that fear of committing came from. And it happened with the first girl. So you can't tell me it's because his first girlfriend died. I don't understand where that came from. And that was kind of a weird thing. Maybe there was just so much about MS Dhoni they wanted to fit in this movie. And maybe most people just know that's how he was. I have no idea. But that for me kind of threw me off when it's in the middle of the movie and that whole death thing happened, maybe near the end of the movie, but still. How did you feel about it? Were you confused or did you feel like you understood completely?
I felt like I understood it completely. And I felt like there was a line somewhere in there where they mentioned, I think his friend tells him on the phone, like, yeah, she passed away. She died, something to that effect. But that's what they were playing up to. But I think that what they were getting, his commitment issues was because he tried to explain to him the challenging life of a cricket star, okay, of any athlete. Basically, it's going to be a tough road. Okay, I'm gonna be on the road a lot. It's going to be hard for us to have a private life. I'm on the spotlight for a lot. So I think that his thing was he was committed to cricket full time because he wanted to be the best cricketer. So he knew that whoever was with him was going to have to be as committed to it, at least him, and accept those things, if that makes sense. No, and if you remember, what really intrigued him about her was that on the plane, she didn't even know who he was. And he said, it's okay if you don't know who I was. I haven't done anything worth remembering yet, which I love that line.
Yeah, that was good.
But they're people too. At that, she caught him at his lowest possible time. He thinks he's about to get cut off the team. You know what I mean? And she caught him at his lowest possible time. And she said a kind word to him. And again, it was still one of those situations where that's super cool and all. She was excited to see like the other cricket star that was on the.
Yeah, that was Sachin. I watched this after we did that reaction. And I was like, hey, look at that small one.
Right. So she wanted to hit him the autograph. But again, it's one of those situations where, she can't be that big of a fan if she doesn't even know who he is. So is her life going to be revolve around cricket the way his does? That's how I understood that. You know what I mean? But
she seemed like a huge cricket fan. And I will mention one thing to try to salvage that character real quick is that she was like a prophetess, for crying out loud, because she tells him you're going to have a good game tomorrow, trust me. And she keeps talking about not having a lot of time to live. So, I mean, I guess in the comment section, they're going to say, oh, but she was foretelling stuff. I don't know. It wasn't my favorite character.
Right. No, I respect that. For me, I really liked the relationship with we're talking about characters here. You don't ever get anywhere on your own, okay, in life, especially when it comes to again, I've been on the back end. I've seen how things work at Top Rank. I mean, it's been years. So any which way, there was this fighter named Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., okay? This guy, because his father was Julio Cesar Chavez, walked in, and when he walked in there, bro, it was like they were parting the sea for Moses. All right. And no joke, they handpicked the people that were going in the ring with him to spar. Forget about fighting. They set up all his matches. And when I say set up, it's still an official fight, right. But they're putting him in there with guys that they're feeding to him, basically journey guys they
like
know.
Like Mickey said, tomatoes.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And I've seen that. And I mean, again, when it comes to sports, there's so many things behind the scenes that people don't see. And this was a good example. His friend, the guy that owned the shop or whatnot, he was so supportive. And I even like the line when he was trying to get him a sponsor. He's like, what do you get out of all of this? And he was like, seeing somebody succeed where I failed. I was once a cricketer and, didn't have the talent. This kid has the talent. And I love that character. But it shows that it takes a lot of people to get you there. Okay, a lot of people supporting you because you can't do it on your own. I think one of the funny things to me too was how he initially didn't even like cricket as a kid. He liked football. You know what I mean? He was a soccer fan and he was a goalie. And the one coach for the team, just for happenstance, needed a goalie. I was watching a wicketkeeper. And I was watching it with Savannah, and she was like, oh, could you imagine? Because he's telling the mom, well, the exam is the same day as the cricket tryouts, and I need them for my team. And the mom is like, oh, no. Absolutely not. You know, cricket, everybody plays cricket so he could fail at cricket, but his studies are what's important. Could you imagine a teacher in this day and age? My son plays high school ball. I'll tell you right now, a lot of these high school teachers, a lot of these parents put pressures, these coaches put pressure on them. It's the other way around over here. Parents are like, I don't care what my kid's grades are. He's playing. You know what I'm saying? And the coaches put pressure on these teachers or whatnot. Where here, it was the teacher that wanted him to play. So I thought that was a very unique dynamic. That's something we definitely don't see here in the States any which way. From my personal experience, I'm saying I'm sure there might be one or two teachers out there that might be that way. But for the most part, teachers care about their students' education, where coaches and parents care about their kids performing athletically and getting on the field. But I thought that was a really cool line, and that coach got him into it.
So you have this young boy, like you said, who's obviously good at athletics. He's got that God-given talent. And I noticed in my life, because I didn't have it, that there's some kids, they just have that talent. They just are good at athletics. And so he gets put into cricket just because his like you said, a teacher at the school he's at needs a wicket keeper. And so he gets him into it. It's like, okay, sure, I'll play. And his dad is a very sweet guy, played by the actor Anupam Kher, the same guy, I'm pretty sure, from Baby and whatnot. He very sweet. He wants the best for his family. He works really hard. He cares about people, as we saw with the whole sprinkler incident. And so he wants to make sure that he gets an education so he can get a better job than he has. This is a very common storyline that we see many times in Indian films. And so he says, fine. But the thing I liked about it was he wasn't overbearing like we've seen in other movies. He wasn't like, it's this or it's nothing. He had a heart. He cared about his kids so much that, fine, go ahead and do it. And so he starts playing cricket. And the thing I like about this movie, and it's a very common trend, is he wasn't just automatically the best on day one. He had to learn, he had to work for it. And so when they're throwing the ball to him, he's dropping it a few times, and the guy's like, oh my gosh, come on. And then he starts to catch it. And he shows those skills that he learned from soccer. And he's like, okay, give him some gloves. Practice every single day for several hours. You better practice. But I want to hit. You're not even thinking about hitting. I don't care about that. You need to practice. You've got to practice. And so he put in the work, and he kept wanting to hit because that's where his heart was. He sneaks into the opportunity to hit, and he hits it really, really good. And it's a really funny scene because the coach is at the store with his wife. His wife's trying to haggle for the food. And the coach's like, I got to get back. I got to see what's going on. And he's hitting with the older kids. And then when he's coming around, you're like, oh, he's going to get in trouble. And then he's there catching the ball with those older kids. I thought that was fantastic. But it's a common trend where he wanted to do something. He worked really hard, and he was able to become the best, probably faster than most people, but still. The interesting thing is he gets a little older. He's still playing for the same coach, for the school. He's probably in middle school or high school age. And I'm not sure if you noticed this, but it looked to me like some CGI effect where they put the actor's face on a skinnier, shorter, scrawnier actor to show that he was 13 or 14 years old. I'm not sure if you picked up on that. And I'm not even sure if I'm right by it. Okay. Because I was thinking like it was done really, really well, actually. And Indian movies that we have seen, they're not huge on VFX. They're more on practical effects, and they're more for just a story. And so I thought that was really cool how they showed that. But he goes on this progression where he is working at something and he becomes the best at it. And then people far and wide are watching this guy. In most sports films, when you have him at high school age, hitting the cover off all these balls, hitting all these sixes and having these centuries in certain games where the whole town, he's doing great. Dhoni's doing great. Come watch it. I thought that was really cool and really inspiring. Most films, they would stop at that sequence and they would go right to the major league. So they go right to where he's a professional. This didn't do it. This did not fall in the temptation of going fast forward and just showing you the best parts. This showed the progression of showing what it takes to be not just a cricketer on some B-league team, but to be playing for the Indian national team or the Indian junior national under-19 team. It takes a lot of work, and you're picked one out of 11 or 15 guys in the entire country. You really got to prove yourself. And this is a common trend. So he goes to different places. Eventually, he has like a bump in the road, and you can probably take over here where he's at the train yard. He gets a job at this train station, which his dad's very excited about. And the guy who is the manager of this train station, where he's got to go around and get fines and tickets and whatnot, he tells him, you have a gift. As long as I'm here, you don't have to show up every single day. Just do the best you can, play cricket, and that's all that happens. But what happens there where it's definitely a big speed bump for him?
Dude, I was waiting for the 6-minute Nick review. I wanted to see if you could get it in under 6 minutes.
Hey, I did like 45 minutes in 3 minutes, man.
Oh, man, I'm loving your quick reviews, though. That was awesome. But in any event, I'm gonna try to live up to your expectations. I'm on the clock now. So anyway, at the train station, other people, the jealousy sets in because again, this train company has like their own team for the train company that plays other train companies or whatnot and local cricket games or whatnot. And other players get upset, and people at that work at the place get upset because he's not showing up to work. He lets his hair grow out long, and you can tell that he's so frustrated. He's really not given any importance. All he cares about is cricket. So anyways, he ends up leaving the job because they're investigating him. So he's either going to get fired and in trouble because he's getting paid, but he's not showing up. And people know that he's not clocking in or whatever. And he goes back home. He tells his dad's really upset at him because he ends up quitting it. Because again, this is a good job and he's helping his dad now provide for the whole family. But he's like, look, I need to give this cricket thing one more shot. And I'm talking about a real shot. And I really understood what he meant there because, okay, again, I'm not even talking about myself. I was never touted as highly as some people that were in my circles, okay? But when you're going to be an athlete, and like you said, you're competing against the entire nation, you're competing against so many other people, okay? You have to be dedicated to that day in and day out. You should not be, working a full-time job, running down tickets, then at the same trying to play cricket or box and then hold down a part-time job driving limos or doing security, or you know what I'm saying? You should be, and some people have that kind of support, some people don't. And that's why I'm saying it teaches you the intricacies. He says, I cannot do this. I'm not getting better unless I give my full attention to cricket. So he gives his full attention to cricket, and he gets an opportunity now to go onto the junior team. Okay. But through some, I don't know if there was confusion or something, they forget to tell him that he has to go, and he misses the tryout. There's this whole scene where his friends are with him. They're driving through night. Yeah, they drive through the night to get him to the airport. The flight's already left. He cannot make it, and it's heartbreaking because he knows he's one of the best. But unfortunately, he's not. He doesn't make it. Fast forward a little bit more time in the future, he's still through the struggle because again, we spend a lot of time with him getting there. His actual story, not just him in the pros. So he gets on another opportunity. He goes and hits the cover off the ball or whatnot, and now he's on this other local team. Or not national, but it's not the national team. But here comes some other players, and his team gets beaten. He is not selected. Okay, so other players are selected, which again is heartbreaking. Eventually, he makes his way, gets on the national team. Once he's on the national team, okay, he has won. He's like so excited to be there. He's not playing his own game. And this was one of my favorite scenes because it's like his very first at bat. On his very first ball, he got out. Wasn't it something like that? And it was like
something crazy like
what
that. Yeah.
just happened? You know what I mean? And it happens sometimes. Stage fright. Okay. I've seen guys, that could throw again, my son could probably throw strikes blindfolded, but one of his biggest games, he had the jitters, could not find the strike zone. It happens. So I can only imagine, this is at the high school level. Could you imagine your whole country, people, all these people help you get there, and you're stuck here and you can't perform. So he gets himself out.
You did a good job there. You went through some perfect timing. So I mentioned a few things. I love the manager at the train yard. He was so awesome, so supportive. I didn't like as I was watching how the movie stopped to a halt at that scene, but you need to have that hardship. You even see him picking up some pickup games or whatever just to keep his game going using tennis balls. And you would think in the back of your mind, if you're not an athlete, I'm not, that would be good enough. But no, like you said, you have to really put yourself hard down on the ground and really grind it out to get better. But the thing I liked about it is he's on the national team, and you have all these people from his town that are now watching him. They want him to succeed. You got his coach, you got his friend who was, I think he was a sick at that store that he owned. You had his buddies, you had his parents, you had his sister and his brother-in-law. All these people are watching him, rooting for him. And he's just not able to deliver time after time after time. And you can see the frustration, the disappointment on their eyes. Like, they know how cricket is. They know this might be his only
Only
chance.
shot, right.
And it might just be a footnote in his life. Oh, yeah, he was on the national team and he got 2 runs. He got 3 runs, whatever it was. I really liked how they showed that part instead of just going to he showed up and he got a century in his first game. I understand it's based on real life, but it's tempting to switch it a little bit. So I thought that was really cool. And even the dad at one point, he was just like, I knew this was the wrong choice. What is he doing? He's wasting his time. So I really liked that.
No, that was really good. And I really like also that that during this time, right, they have the one cricketer that's as good as him, and that's a friend of his.
Yeah,
and
Neeraj
he teaches him that shot where you know what I mean,
different guy,
the scoop shot or whatever. And he tells him, later on, hey, do you want to be a cricketer? Because he sees that at a party, he's drinking. And he's like, you got to respect your body. And you can see that guy, even though he's got talent, not only does he not respect his body because he's drinking, but he's got the eye for the ladies. And again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. If you're going to be a committed and a dedicated athlete, cricket has to be first. Baseball has to be first. Basketball has to be first. These things, it doesn't matter what sport it is, it has to be first. And this guy, even though he had the talent, he liked the booze, he liked the ladies. So you see, he didn't make it. Okay, and I really like that they told that little side story there. They
not just that, but they showed a lot of different side stories that helped him get where he was.
Right.
Let alone the Indian national team. I think it was them. They had created their own department just for scouting, just to try to find local talent, maybe in smaller places they would have missed. And that's how he got discovered. There was a lot of different moments here where the filmmaker here showed me at least that he was such a big fan of the process, not just so much the glorifying and not just that, but also the psychological later on when he becomes a big star. I loved all of that. But you're right. I mean, the guy with the shop owner gives him the sponsor. It's such a small part in his story, but it meant everything and it helped him move along. The guy where he learned the shot from. Yes, he wasn't the best cricket player, but he learned something to help him in his game. It didn't play a role in the story, but it helped make him a complete cricket player.
Right, exactly. So anyway, fast forward, he's playing very poorly on a national stage. He's like, man, I'm about to get cut. And that's when he meets the first love interest. He's on the plane and he's down. And she didn't even recognize who he was because she's like, oh, wow. She's excited. She see everybody else's shirt, the whole team. And she's trying to get an autograph. Nobody's giving her the time of day. And she looks at his shirt. She's like, are you on the team? Who are you? And he's like, yeah, I'm on the team, whatever. And she said, can I get an autograph? I'm a big fan. So he said, okay. He goes and gets to the autograph of Shaseen, right? So you get the autograph or whatnot. She said, I'm sorry, I didn't know your name. And he goes, that's okay. I haven't done anything for you worth remembering, so I don't mind. I may even get cut tomorrow. She's like, and like you said earlier, she said, no, you're not. You're going to have a great game and you're going to perform really well. And from that, I just think it took him to get somebody to tell him, for him to believe in himself again and to calm down. And then the next day you saw he performed well. And after that, he absolutely took off and became the player that everybody knew was in there, that from a high school level and even as an elementary school kid when he was whacking the ball all over the place. In any event, career's going well, everything's going well, he's performing, and then tragedy strike, life happens. Life doesn't stop because of that. So she's talking about trying to get him to commit, and like you mentioned, he had a little bit of commitment issues, and he tells her, you know what? I think it was Valentine's Day or something to that effect, right? And he said, I don't celebrate Valentine's Day. And then he calls her back and he says,
yeah, but he has no problem saying, get me a watch. This guy's making all this kind of money. He tells his way to get me a watch. What can I get? What should I get you? Oh, I don't buy gifts for anybody. What?
So she gets in the car and takes off, and there's a car accident, just a random. It wasn't nothing spectacular. It wasn't no, killing or kidnapping or anything like that. It's like car accidents do happen. Car accident took her, and you could see how that just absolutely deflated him once he got back home. And they told him, because when he was on the road, he couldn't get a hold of her, but people that knew wouldn't tell him because they knew it would distract him from his goal and playing well. In any event, he mourns her loss, and afterwards, he starts playing cricket again. He's becoming more and more famous, and he meets the next young lady, and that's why I let you finish it up.
So he meets this lady, and they kind of go back and forth, and he likes her from the start, and she doesn't know who he is at all, and he likes that again. It's a common pattern for him. And she goes back to apologize. Don't worry about it. I want to get your autograph because you didn't know who I was, and you seem like a decent person. So they start a little fling, and you can tell that he wants a relationship, but he doesn't want to get too into it because he doesn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And he becomes the captain of the cricket team. He is the man. He's the all-star. He's playing with Sasha, and he's playing with a young Virat Kohli. He's playing with Yuvraj Singh. I mean, they got this awesome team, and it's building up to in 2011 when they won the World Cup, which is interesting because that's what the Sasha movie is about too, leading up to that point. And they play for the World Cup. They get in the playoffs. Everything's going great. But it's not about how he's doing in the playoffs so much. It's about his life and his relationship. There's one point where he gets like a picture with a lion, for crying out loud. But he starts to fall in love with the girl. She falls in love with him. She says the same thing. Where are we going? Because I don't feel like I even matter to you, because this guy cannot communicate his feelings. And he gets in the same place he was with the other girl before she got in the car accident. And this is one of the best moments in the movie for me. I know you probably hate it because it's romance. But one of the best parts of the movie for me, where he manned up after he hung up on her, called her back, and he's like, you know what? How about this? Will you marry me? And even though he's not able to say, oh, I love you, baby, I love you, honey, he has a lot of feelings for her. Obviously, he loves her, and he wants to get married to her. And I'm sure she's sitting there crying because she thinks her life's over, and she's having a hard time with all the press and all the attention. And she's just like, what, really? And so I liked that happy ending to their love story, and how, she didn't die as far as we know. They were able to get that relationship, get married, and then he was able to play in the World Cup. And then we have at the beginning of the movie, it shows us at the end of the movie, he's the captain. He can choose who bats when. And he tells, I don't know if it's the coach or whoever he talked to, he's like, I'm putting myself in. Are you sure the guy's going? No, I got it. I'm going to put myself in. And he goes in, and it makes it look like he won the game. But of course, the World Cup is a long affair. But he had some important at-bats, and he helped the team to win their first World Cup. And it was really cool because they kept showing, in my opinion, what it seemed like the actual people, and then that technology of his face on MS Dhoni's body or whatever, just make it look like he was there celebrating. You can see how the entire nation was getting behind him, right, how they were all celebrating, how it was just a glorious time, and he was able to fulfill that. The best thing was showing the shots of all those that support him growing up. His coach from school was crying. I mean, when he was crying, that actor did a great job in that scene. When he was crying, he was feeling it. That made me think that's exactly how I would be if a kid I knew, I helped out in a little bit, made on the big stage and won some kind of championship or in some important game. You saw his friend who owned the store. He saw his parents. And at some point early in the movie, his dad said, you were right about the cricket thing. I'm sorry.
His dad was crying at that point.
On, it's more and more bald. I will say that the wig was completely fake. Like, that was just cut that thing off. But we have this movie where the thing I like the most about it, I've mentioned a few times, is how the pacing was very consistent and very balanced. That was the best thing about it. We got to see different periods. One of my favorite periods in the entire movie was when he was a kid, and we got to learn about his dad, and we got to learn about where he came from and where he started, and he's looking onto that field, and all of that was some of my favorite parts. The children that played those characters did a great job, those child actors. And I love how he had a supportive family, that there's no drama there with that family. Even the dad, the mom, they're all super supportive. I'm ready to grade this movie, but overall, I enjoyed it. It was a different type of sports film. Right. It taught me a lot about cricket. In my wildest dreams, I would have loved to have more of him performing on the field in the movie, and maybe a little less of the two love stories as much as we got, and a little less of the train station. But I feel like I understand the director's vision, and so I have no problem with the direction he went.
The one scene I want to talk about real quick that we kind of glossed over was when he was playing poorly or whatnot, and the mob, at first they're loving him, right? The entire nation's loving him. And then they blow the one game, and the mob shows up at his house, and his dad is horrified, can't believe what's going on. And they're burning, fake dolls of him with his jersey on or whatnot. But it just shows you the pressure that this guy is under, And then later on, as he's on the team, they're performing well, but they're just not quite there. He's making some tough decisions, who to cut, who not to cut. And he's like, listen, these guys are good batters, but athletically, they cannot run, they cannot field, and India's not going to win a championship that way. So it shows some of the tough calls he had to make, because a lot of times, no athlete ever knows when it's over. Let's just be real, okay? The game retires you. Very seldomly do athletes retire on top. Usually they're old, they're broke down, they get injured, something happens to that effect, I forgot who said it, but it was like the game usually finishes with you, is done with you before you're done with the game. And he had to make those tough calls. So I really like that about that. Again, there's even politics involved when it comes to the game. But yeah, I love this film and I'm ready to grade it. Just you want to go first? Want me to go first?
Go for it.
Go first. I love this film. I love this film. My only complaint was that there weren't enough actual game footage. And again, you have to have, especially in a biopic about sports, you want to have more games in there. And really, we didn't get that many games for 2.5 hour, almost 3 hour movie. It was close to 3 hours. We should have gotten one or two more important games in there and a little bit more, drawn out. I agree. The train station, that scene could have been cut up a little bit, for the sake of runtime. You know what I mean? But that's what keeps it from being an A+ for me. But other than that, I love this film, so I'm gonna give it a solid A.
Wow. So you graded it higher than I'm going to grade it. There were some parts of this movie that for me just didn't make any sense. There's a part where his friend that he worked with at the train station comes and visits him when he's a big shot. And he's like, it's almost as if he said, I just want to come to say hi. That's all I want to do. I have nothing else. I don't need anything else from you. That to me, I don't understand that scene. Maybe it was to show him where he came from. I don't know. That was a weird random scene. There was a few other random scenes there. The acting wasn't the best. I do think, again, that the lead actor who played MS Dhoni, Sushant, I thought he did an admirable job. Kiara, who played Sakshi, did an admirable job. Anupam Kher did the best job as a dad. But it was just okay as far as the acting goes. The pacing was very, very good. But like you're right, it was missing some elements in the gameplay itself. So I'm going to give this a B+. Now, for me, my average Indian score for a film, it seems like it's A-. So this is below average in that way. But that's still above average for me as far as film goes. I'm probably not going to watch it again, but I still enjoyed it a whole lot more than I did not like it.
No, and listen, I completely had I not the personal experiences I had as an athlete growing up, and people in my Savannah's family, seen all those things and know those backs, you know what I mean, behind the scenes things that people don't understand, then I would be like, yeah, probably, because the acting performances do fall short a little bit. We don't have an Amir Khan kind of performance like we had in Lagan or Dongle. So I get what you're saying, but from an actual biopic, like, this is what it takes to be an athlete. This is the type of dedication. This is the struggle. Okay, you don't wake up being great. Michael Jordan didn't wake up being great. Tiger Woods didn't wake up being great. MS Dhoni did not wake up being great. They had to work for it and struggle and sacrifice, and others had to sacrifice to get them there. So I like that story's being told, because far too often you don't get those people in the background get any credit whatsoever. Okay, I love the fact that those people got, even if it was a little bit of recognition, a little bit of recognition to, hey, MS Dhoni is this legendary player, but let's tell you some of the people who helped him get there, because nobody gets there on their own, and we forget that way too often. You know what I mean? That's just my personal opinion. So that's really what I like the most about this movie.
Cool, man. Sounds good. Well, let us know what you guys think in the comment section. How do you like this movie? If you're not a big cricket fan, I want to know what you think. If you are a huge cricket fan, a huge MS Dhoni fan, we definitely want to know what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We should probably start saying that at the beginning of the video, but we're so excited to talk about it. As always, thanks so much for checking us out, for subscribing, for helping us with our YouTube channel. And until next time.
That's 6 runs.